Oh, man. We're back with another Cafe Crash, and I'm here with Cory McAbee. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, let's do that again. I wasn't ready. Ah, yeah. Excellent. Cory, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very, 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 very good. I got a COVID test last week. The finest swordsman in all of France stuck a Q-tip up my nose, and I was honored. And doing good. Came out okay.
Good. Everything's negative.
Everything's there. No, you don't have to say it that way. Yeah,
that's the positive way to say that.
I know. But no, yeah, everything's good. Everybody here's all right.
Excellent. Yeah,
Queens, New York, by the way. Talking to you all from Queens, New York. Hello.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks for joining us all the way from Queens, New York, and you're there with the family.
I am. I have banished them to the other side of the railroad apartment.
Oh dear. Is that while you paint?
No, while I talk to friends.
Oh, okay.
I don't want them hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah, because probably saying, "Oh yeah," and then my kids, and then the wife. Yeah, that's sort of.
Yeah. Then I fell madly in love with my wife, and then we had kids. That's pretty much my story.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, Cory, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you come from, how you got in. I mean, you do so much, but starting with like the music.
Well, I started doing music when I was really young. I mean, I always, as a little kid, I'd just sit in a rocking chair and listen to headphones nonstop, and just make up stories listening to music, in my head. And many of the stories had me singing those songs that I loved so much. And then started experimenting in bands when I was young, and I had some horrible bands that I could not see the fault in at the time. But now, it's the kind of stuff that if you find a recording or something, you just throw it in somebody's garbage can a block away so nobody could pin it on you. And also I would go back. Also, I had the worst stage fright in the world when I was young, and that added to my being horrible. But in my mind, you're sitting in the bathroom talking in the mirror, and you got some joke, and you're like, "Oh, this is great." And then you're on stage and you say it, and it just,
it doesn't work out quite that way.
It doesn't work the moment it leaves. It starts off, and so it took a long running start to get halfway decent on stage. But just tried things as they occurred. Still doing that. I think everything I'm doing is still an experiment.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful way to kind of look at everything. Because watching your career for the last because I was introduced to your work, specifically American Astronaut, and we'll play that trailer here in a little bit. But I was introduced to that I think in like 2003. I was at the Twist and Shout, which is a little indie record store that had DVDs. And sure enough, there was this weird black and white, DVD cover. I'm like, I have no idea what this is. American Astronaut. It looks cool. Took it home, fell in love. And, I've been a fanboy of yours.
Thanks, sir.
Ever
since your own as well. So.
Oh, thank you. You're sweet. But that was like one of the few movies that I can keep going back to. And just I just melt all over it, again. I have to use a mop in a bucket, afterwards, but it's just absolutely just pure joy, that sense of music and film and the nostalgia of the black and white and just the space Western genre itself. It's like, mwah.
Thank you.
But how did you transition from music to film?
Well, painting, teaching myself how to paint and draw. That's where my first interests were in, and then I started acting in friends' films. People going to college, and making student films. I would act in their films, and it was fun. I liked it. I wasn't very good at it, but I really had a good time. And then at one point, I went to an animation festival. They don't have those anymore, but there used to be these touring animation festivals that would go from city to city with.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Remember those? Those were really
like the Spike and Mike's animation festivals, something like that.
Spike and Mike's, the international tourney. There was a few of them, and I went to one, and I was thrilled. And I thought, I want to make an animated short. And I thought, well, I do music, I paint. I should try this. And so I made my first animated short, which was 2,173 hand painted frames using paint on paper.
Yeah.
It was the most tedious, painful, just awful. You'd put your paintbrush in the paint and you think, I'm going to throw up. This is so horrible. But 3 years later, I had these stacks of paintings, and then a friend of mine who was a film student at the time, who's now he's filmed all sorts of big films. He lived halfway down the block from me, and he filmed them, and it took off. People liked it. So I'm still doing animation. I'm doing a lot more animation these days than I have for a long time.
Yeah, I think I see a little clip of it too, like in Deep Astronomy with the birds on the telephone poles.
If you have that trailer, the Deep Astronomy, the birds on the wires, the 4-dimensional thing of the birds. Also, the guys on Mars digging.
Oh, right.
The Martians dancing and stuff. A lot of different styles, but I've been really having fun with it. In fact, I just finished one for episode 4 of Monkey the Chimp, where it took me about a month, but I would take little pieces of scraps of a manila envelope, and I would tape them to a picture, moving them around, making a dancing figure. And so you'd see the tape and everything, and then I would scan them and then pull it off and then move them around some more and retape. And so it's this organic motion, but with this flashy Scotch tape all around it and these little rough edges. And it really, I love it. It came out really fun. Oh,
that's cool. Where can people see that on your website?
Yeah, well, if they go to they can sign up on well, if they go to my website, they have to go to watch an episode of Monkey the Chimp to find it. But if they go to my my Instagram page has a copy of just that animated piece. It's I'm Cory McAbee 1961 on
cool.
Instagram, so they can find me there.
Man, that's cool. The ticker running below has your website, and then the Red Planet Planning Commission website as well. So people can, I'd imagine all your social media is on there as well.
Yeah, well, CoryMcAbee.net, net. That one has a lot of the stuff for the building of the deep astronomy and the romantic sciences. Right. Red Planet Planning Commission is sort of a little spin-off of an idea within that film, but it's become an environmental project, and a good reason to make films. Yeah,
very much so. Anything in support of the environment, and at least for the most part, making humans accountable for all the crap that we do.
Yeah, well, when I was making Deep Astronomy, I wanted to do a few things. I wanted to make a global collaborative, which you were a part of and a great contributor to. And I wanted to make something that would just get people all over the world to work together on a project. And there was no money. Posters. Oh yeah,
and then there's Carl Krumfoltz.
Look at that, the whole rack of meat there. That's but the yeah, so it was a global collaborative, and part of what I wanted to do was get people all over the world working together on a project, and it worked. The film hasn't been seen yet because the audio is still being tweaked and fine-tuned, but because the audio it's just filmed by recorded by different people all over the place. The filming was a lot easier to put together than the audio.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. The audio can be really tough if you don't have clear enough audio. That can wreck a film.
yeah, you got nothing. It's but the but it's almost done. But one of my ideas too was to figure out a way to use this film for as an environmental project too, and it didn't
Right.
happen that way. So I took an element of the film and created the Red Planet Planning Commission, where I'm helping to popularize conservation cemeteries and green burial grounds, and at the same time help restore the monarch butterfly population. And
Yeah.
but I don't like talking about
Death.
cemeteries and dead people, and I don't like talking about dying bugs. So I talk about Mars, and we talk about Mars terraforming and things like that, while at the same time doing practical practices here on Earth.
Nice. The if you want, let's go ahead and play the trailer to American Astronaut, so people watching that aren't aware of the film have an idea of what all the amazing things that you've endeavored.
Oh, real quick, this came out 20 years ago this month.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely. So cool. Here it is. Oh man, I again just one of my favorite films. That and Stingray Sam. Holy cow!
Oh, I love that Stingray Sam.
That
Yeah.
that one was really great. I think that's when I first met you. Was at a screening in Boulder at CU, and you were debuting Stingray Sam, and it's a movie, but it's a serial. Set up so well for for the online crowd.
Well, that was the idea. What happened was in the end of 2006. I was contacted by the Sundance Film Festival, and they had been commissioned by the GSM Association to create films for a 2-inch by 2-inch screen for mobile phones. That was right when the technology came into play where people would be able to watch movies on their phone. So they wanted to have these premiere films, and they got a small group of very famous filmmakers and me to make these 5 films. And mine was called Reno. And after it came out, I guess all the other filmmakers had real careers and they were very busy. So whenever there would be a technology conference, people would send for me to talk about Reno and what my ideas were and how I'd come to these conclusions. And so going to these conventions, you go there and you talk for 15 minutes, but then you're there for like 5 days. So I saw all these other speakers talking about new technologies. None of them were into film. They were all about new technologies. And I realized how quickly everything was going to take off. And so I wrote Stingray Sam and designed it and designed the way it was going to be filmed and everything as 10-minute episodes that you could download on your phone, which you had to download things and you couldn't stream.
Right.
But at the same time, people could play it at a festival and it would be seen as a feature film. And it worked. It was really nice. There was a company that wanted to license it. The way you would get films in was to license a film to phone companies. So you'd order them through your phone service. But then pretty quickly everything switched and it became all about streaming. And it wasn't an issue anymore. But I was really happy that turned out the way it did.
Yeah, I remember Reno. I remember shortly after Stingray Sam, that popped up online for me, and that was absolutely charming. The opening song to Stingray Sam, "Welcome to Mars," man, that is on my iPhone. That is the one song of yours that gets played daily.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
so fun. But that was that with when you had Billy Nair Show, your band?
Yeah, the Billy Nair Show was together for a long time. We broke up, I guess, 2011 officially. Just disbanded. And it was a time where when that happened, I realized I wanted to do everything differently than I had. And the Billy Nair Show was very secluded, and people would contact us and say, you can come stay at our home. You can, we'll make you dinner, things like that. And I always thought it was a good idea, but people I was working with were like, no, let's just, let's keep to ourselves. So when the band broke up, I thought, actually that's what I'm going to do now. And that's when I started the Global Collaborative. And I don't have any money and I don't know how to drive. So I went on tour where people would pick me up and drive me and let me stay on their sofas. And
right, I remember that.
I had a whole different experience as a musician, which I tell you, if you want to knock a couple inches off of your pessimism, try that. It's really a lovely experience. You get to see the kindness in people.
Oh yeah, very much so. I remember you mentioning that when you would come out and do screenings at the Denver Seasetter or the Alamo Draft House.
Yeah.
And I think we had a couple mutual friends, at least through Carl Krumfoltz out here, that you would hang out with or stay with.
Yeah.
That's got to be quite the experience, because like you mentioned, you're meeting new people and staying with them and having whole seeing life through their eyes for as brief as you're there for.
Well, with the Captain Ahab's concerts, that was me trying to figure out a way to put together a collaborative, and the two things that I knew would work would be trying to put together a collection of graphics to see how that would unfold, and music. And the way I did music was I recorded these, and you saw these shows. I recorded these very simple versions of songs. Yeah. And then posted them and said, if you do a recording or a mix or anything of this song,
right,
as long as my scratch vocal, because they could download my song and download each individual track, as long as my scratch vocal fit their recording, I should have been able to download it and perform it on stage that night. And so I went out on tour, and at first I only got like a few, and I was kind of getting used to using my own recordings. Then suddenly I got a flood of these recordings, and it was so fun. And, some of them I'd listen to them and be like, oh God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then I get on stage and do it, and people are like, oh, that was my favorite one. I'm like, all right, see, I don't know anything. And where like I'd have to keep starting them over, go up. I missed the beginning of that one. We got to keep, trying until we get it right. And I'd sit on stage and go, this one comes from Oslo, Norway, and do the next. But that was fun. And then I don't know. When I was doing that, I wanted to make a film about Abraham Lincoln's embalmer.
Right. I remember that.
Yes, and for those of you out there in TV land who don't know, his funeral was 2.5 weeks, and they took him by train from city to city to city. Every time I would approach that topic, everything would kind of stop. I couldn't get the collaborative to mingle with that topic. And so yeah, I got just a couple of pieces of artwork, not much from that, and it was supposed to be a guerrilla style film. It was happening during the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's assassination, so there were all these reenactments, and I thought, well, this is a good opportunity, but it didn't fly. While that was happening, I made the Small Star Seminar. I was asked to go perform in Poland, and they were going to pay me, and that was very exciting.
Nice.
So I had 2 months. I made the Small Star Seminar all by myself in my apartment for 2 months, and then went and performed in front of. And one of the reasons I did those films behind me, I was performing in Poland, and I thought they're not going to want to see some obscure middle-aged guy singing songs in a language they don't know.
Right.
Recordings. So I had them translated, and I had the lyrics projected behind me in time to the music while I was singing, and so everything was on beat, and it was kind of this little show in itself. So they had translations, and it was one of the most fun shows I ever had. I've done it a few times with different languages. I did it in Russia, had performed there, and had it in German too. I went around Germany and Switzerland, and did some shows, and it's just a really. I do it in English too in America, even though it's in English.
Well, I saw. I think it was at the C Center that you first performed that as like an in theater concert, and then I saw it again. I think you did a version of it when you were touring with that one guy, and
no, that was Captain Ahab's. That was the
was that Captain Ahab's? Okay,
yeah, that was the collaborative piece.
Nice, yeah, because I remember doing like this piece of art for you.
That's beautiful.
For the small star seminar. That was a lot of fun, and I'll bring this one up again with Carl's work too.
Yeah, Carl, I said hi, by the way.
Oh yeah, Carl's awesome. Hopefully I'll be able to have him on here at some point too. But it was just every time I see you live, it's always just the most special time. But the deep astronomy, now that kind of cycled out of the Abraham Lincoln project to some extent, right?
Sort of. Well, what happened? Well, now it's coming back around to that now with Red Planet Planning Commission. I'm using when trying to write that. I ended up studying embalming and the history of embalming in America, and so that information led down a little rabbit hole, and I ended up working with people I knew who I was already working with, but now working with them differently, who were involved in the Green Burial movement. In fact, this friend of mine who used to perform at a club I used to work at is the founder of the Green Burial Council in the U.S. Cool. He's moved on. He's in Australia now, but yeah. So I forgot what I was saying. Oh, about the what were we talking about? I'm sorry.
So we were talking about transitioning from the Abraham Lincoln film to deep astronomy, and you were talking about how it's kind of circled back.
Well, what happened was when Abraham Lincoln film wasn't working, and I started doing the Small Star Seminar separately, everybody who was working on, with me in the Captain Ahab's Motorcycle Club started doing things for the Small Star Seminar. People were filming it and giving me the performance footage. They were doing artwork for it. They were doing all sorts of things. And I thought, okay, this is organic. So let's shelve Lincoln and just see what happens. So one of the things people were focusing on was the Small Star Corporation, a corporation that helps you find the stars in your mind.
Yeah.
So I started getting artwork for that idea from people. And I thought, all right, well, I'm going to go here. So I started giving these science lectures before my last song. So I'd have these 3 minutes allotted to doing just a free science lecture. And sometimes I'd write them down and read them. And sometimes I would, just riff. And scientists, they do go to nightclubs. They would come up to me afterwards and say, like this one guy, actually, he's a good friend of mine now. But first I met him, he came up to me. He's his name's Dr. Prakash Verma, and he's a
Hmm.
um, theoretical quantum chemist from India, and now
Cool.
he's in Canada doing creating software for working on a quantum level. And he comes up to me and goes, "I know you're joking, but you're right, and here's why." And so he starts telling me about light absorption and versus light reflection. And so the next night I get up on stage and I start kind of weaving in what he told me with what I was doing. And it just kept going like that. People kept coming up to me, talking about it, going, "Okay, no, this is why this works, but this is why it does." And I just started evolving. So eventually I ended up doing 90-minute, in fact, 2 years ago, I guess it was, no, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, this January, I premiered a 90-minute version of a live science lecture with music and PowerPoint presentations and film.
Oh man,
That's a mess.
That's cool how that's gelled. We've gone when you were performing and then filming for the Deep Astronomy, and that was such a cool experience. Let me go ahead and play the trailer from that.
Yeah, you'll see maybe some live footage from those events as well. In that.
Right. Let's see here.
Oh yeah, this is the one that's got a lot of my recent animation in it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's right. The birds on the telephone pole. I love so much.
The spinning cat head, that wasn't mine. That's a guy named Forrest Gamble and Joe Gamble. They made that.
Nice. Cool. Deep Astronomy and the Romantic Sciences.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that movie. I love it so much.
I can't wait to see it. This is that one of those projects of yours. I'm like, come on.
Well, I got to tell you how I wrote that screenplay. I went out, I collected all this material, I got all these science things. I started doing these 90-minute science lectures.
Right.
And so I had all this stuff, and I thought, but I can't make a movie out of concert footage and science lectures,
Okay.
I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted to be one of the main characters, but not the main character in the film,
Okay.
And so I kept writing this thing and rewriting it, and it just always came out bad. And it was sort of the same thing where, like, when you sit at if you play a piano enough, every time you sit down, your fingers go to the same keys. I was doing that when I was writing. And so I thought, all right, well, what, I gotta break out of this. I thought, okay, what's the last thing I would do? And I thought, whatever's popular.
Yeah.
And so I thought, all right, what's popular? And like female robots or female looking robots were everywhere, people molesting them and,
Right. I get it. Yeah. The sex bots.
Sex bots and vodka commercials and they were there's a lot of them. And so I thought, all right, well, that's the last thing I would do, but I'm going to write a story about a female robot. And I thought, well, who do I like? And that guy, Rudy, who you saw at the beginning there.
Yeah.
His name's really Rudy. He, whenever I go down to the corner to buy beer, we'd see each other in this store, this little liquor store, bodega on the corner. And every time we saw each other, we'd just stand there and talk for like an hour on the corner.
Cool.
And so I thought, all right, well, I like Rudy, I really like him. And so I wrote a story about him, and we didn't know each other that well. We just, run into each other and just couldn't shut up, And so I thought I'm going to write something about Rudy and a robot. Mm-hmm. So I wrote this screenplay, and then I was so in love with the idea of him being my character.
Oh.
That at one point I saw him and I said, Rudy, I said, what? This is going to sound really bizarre, but I've been writing a story. And you're the guy in my story. I've been thinking of you while writing this story. And kind of explain to him that usually I'll do that, but then I'll think of somebody else and try to picture them in there and see why it doesn't work with them and rewrite it accordingly, you know.
Yeah.
But I said, what do you do? He goes, I'm a hip hop artist. And I said, oh, so you're a performer? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, well, you ever think about doing any acting? And he goes, I'd love to. And so we did an audition. He was great.
Cool.
He is, and in the film, he was amazing. I think he's just a beautiful actor, and you know, who he was, who I knew, and who I, you know, wanted to stand on the corner and talk to, came out in the film.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah, and you mentioned earlier, right now you're just fine tuning the audio, and pretty hopefully soon after you'll, and correct me if I'm wrong. Hopefully soon after you'll be able to announce when it's going to be released, or I imagine it's got to go through Sundance, right?
No, they won't do it. I guess it was last year. I had like this really bad version of it, but everything was bad, and I'm like, I just submitted it anyway, like really late, and I understand why they wouldn't want it, because I just thought I was almost done with it, but I wasn't.
Okay.
But they liked it. They went really far into their process, even as it was. So that's nice.
Right.
But it's kind of one of my favorite movies. I think it might. I think it might be my favorite movie I've ever made.
Cool. Well, I think that's great, because as a filmmaker too, like you sit there, you're working on something for so long, and as you said, you went through so many script revisions, and I know you've accumulated footage over years on deep astronomy. That sometimes as filmmakers, it's just like, everything looks awful, but the fact that you still find it so endearing, I think speaks to not only the quality but your level of love and interest.
Well, it's got so many ideas in it that I find interesting, and I think all of the contributions are just beautiful, and I see so much heart in this film. And again, I love Rudy's performance. I love his character in the film. I also love Grace, the robot. She's wonderful. And I did a test screening, and the thing that made me really proud was everybody said I loved their relationship, Rudy and Grace's relationship.
Yeah.
And I feel like this film is really of today as well. It's very, very timely.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Like I said, can't wait to see it. Yeah. But at the same time, in between there, you also did a film with your kids. How intriguing.
Crazy and Thief. I love that movie.
Yes.
That movie was like, that movie was a real labor of love. I was gearing up to work with some people on another thing, and everything just felt icky at the time.
Okay.
And I thought, if I go down the road working with these people, it's not going to end well,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It would have been there was a budget behind it and everything. And then I thought, okay, well, if I could just do anything at all, what would I do? And I thought to myself, if I could make one film before I die, what would it be? And so I thought I'd want to make a movie about little kids, and I wanted it to be like a portrait as opposed to, like a common narrative. And so I made Crazy. I wrote it and worked with my kids. And I think it's a really kind of in a way, an eye-opening portrait of how 2-year-olds, how smart they are and how their minds work. And it's fun. I think it's a pretty little film. There was a screening here in New York, and somebody said, we should invite these critics. I'm like, don't invite them. They'll hate it. And then he's like, well, I think they might like it. I'm like, it's not that kind of thing. They invited them. They gave it terrible reviews. But it won awards around the world. It got great reviews too. And there's universities that play it. There's one, what is it? There's a school, it's an art academy in Michigan that plays it to their first-year students every year.
Okay. Man, I really enjoy it. It's it kind of reminds me um, of you know, my nieces and nephews, you know, that moment in their life where everything, you know, is imaginative and inventive and creative. And yeah, you know, I could see, yeah, how you know, you interpret them as, you know, being very innovative and you know, figuring things out, figuring the world out. And but at the same time too, it's like, to me, you know, you as a father, me as an outsider looking in, it's like, oh, this is, you know, a wonderful love letter to your own kids, you know, at that time of their life.
Yeah, they love that film. They, you know, we filmed it, I guess, 10 and a half years ago. It was filmed. It took
Yeah,
2 years before it got edited, but they love it. And it also is, it was probably the most fun I ever had doing Q&As. Touring with that film was a blast.
yeah.
You know, parents and like people were remembering things, and like people got excited talking after the film. It was really a fun, special experience.
That's cool. I remember when you screened it at the C Center, and that yeah, that was a great Q&A. Yeah, I think that's one of the things too. Like as a filmmaker and a musician and an artist, is, you know, you personally are always so giving, and you know, of your time and of your arts, and always, you know, willing to, you know, work and chat with people and talk about you know, the work that you just displayed, or just life in general.
Well, that's part of the fun. And in fact, that was one of the things that when I was young, I told you I had terrible stage fright. Like I just
Right.
wouldn't talk to audiences, and I was, you know, terrified. And then when I forced myself to do it, I realized that was one of the best parts.
Right.
With, you know, having a relationship with the audience
Yeah.
after the film and during, and you know, because one thing I always say when people say, "Oh, I really like, you know, this thing you made," I say, "Well, then obviously I made it for you." You know, I'm making it for anybody who might like it, and so, you know, if somebody likes it, then you already have this relationship, and you did make it for them. And you know, I feel that way about if I see something that I like, I think, you know,
Mhm.
thank you for making this and making my day. You know, it's not. I think it's a pretty realistic way of looking at it.
Yeah. While you're in the pandemic with your family, I've watched you online. To me, there's no shortage of content that you're just keep pumping out. You've got is it the movie classics? That's
Right. Classic movie classics. You know, those things really, and I don't like to say my own jokes are funny, but those things make me laugh all the time. In fact, my wife goes, "Yeah, I hear you in there working on them, guffawing late in the evening." I'm like, "Oh, you can hear that?" You know, but they make me laugh. Like I work on them late at night. I'll just sit down and, you know, drink a beer and get really angry at something, and the next thing I know, I'm like busting up. And what I'm doing is I'm taking modern news footage
right.
and modern situations and blending them in with classic cinema to make bumpers for an imaginary TV station called
Nice.
Movie Classics. And I just think they're a blast. And you know, it's a good way to let off steam, but it's also a nice, you know, of course everybody thinks they're right, but I think there are people right now in the world that are being tricked and
Right.
fooled into believing things that are not true.
Right.
And like Mark Twain said, you know, it's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled.
Right.
So these people who have these beliefs are hanging on to them like they're money,
Yep.
and they get offended by other. You know, it's like it's like Star Wars. It's like good versus evil, and there's no, you know.
Yeah. There's no gray. What? Come on.
Yeah. So I figure, you know, if I can make somebody laugh at something that they're into,
Mm.
that's a good step. You know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it's healing for everyone to be able to laugh at something at some point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, back in the 2016 election, I had so much anxiety. I started doing these portraits of the current administration with semen blasted all over their faces just
Yeah,
because of all the misogyny and sexism that exuded. But I think your approach is way healthier.
well, I really do think they're funny. And so, like, I hopefully some people will be able to laugh at them who otherwise wouldn't laugh at any.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's universal. So I think that's one of the nice things about laughter is, yeah, if you can throw in a joke, if you can lighten the mood and the tension with anything, then conversations can really get started.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth. Which one's my favorite? I've made 9 of them, and I love the one with what's her name, Kaylee McClanahan, Kaylee
From
McClanahan.
Big Bang Theory, or
No, the one who's Trump's new press lady.
oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Kaylee McAnally or something like that.
McClanahan, yeah. I did one with her and Tim Curry as Satan.
Yes, the Lord of Darkness. I haven't caught that one. I'm gonna have to look that up afterwards.
Oh yeah, please do. I think today that might be my favorite. That and the one that I just posted with not the one I just posted.
Mm-hmm.
No, anyway.
Yeah, the one I caught before I hopped on here with you was with President Orange and Willy Wonka. And it's just like, oh, this is absolute gold. I love it.
Yeah, classic movie classics. And the thing too, it's temporary humor. It's not going to make any sense in a couple of years, but it's something for right now.
Right. Well, even so, I think you might think that, but it's a reminder of that time, so that hey, let's not repeat this.
Yeah.
Unless Gene Wilder is around.
Yeah, he won't be.
Yeah, because he's not.
Yeah, he won't be making a comeback.
Yeah. Oh man, let me go ahead and play the clip from Red Planet Planning Commission.
Oh, cool.
Cory McAbee is a world-renowned writer, director, singer, songwriter, musician, actor, animator, and illustrator. He is regarded as a pioneer in new media and has been successful in orchestrating a global arts collaborative for the purpose of creating a feature film. Much of his work is based in science. His recent performances were presented in the form of science lectures. In 2013, he received a thorough education on monarch butterfly biology and restoration while traveling through the U.S. and Mexico with a documentary team to create a feature on butterflies for German television. Shortly following this, he developed a screenplay about Abraham Lincoln's funeral, where he studied the history of embalming in America. As a result, he is now working to popularize organic end-of-life practices through a monarch butterfly restoration program. This project is called the Red Planet Planning Commission. It uses art, science, social events, and entertainment to create a narrative around alternative yet feasible ideas for introducing a living ecosystem to the planet Mars while developing parallel sister programs to support our environment, aid in wildlife restoration, and help people during the most difficult periods in their lives. It should be fun.
RedPlanetPlanningCommission.com.
Oh, that's great.
That was like a recap of everything we just talked about. That was nice.
I know. I think that was the bumper for this episode.
Well, that was that was made just so people, because I mean it seems so convoluted. I thought I should make something so people would understand where this came from.
Right.
It just didn't seem like some weird out of the left field idea. But I'm doing a lot of little animation stuff for this. And, it was originally intended to be a live thing, and it got shut down immediately. I had a tour set up at universities, and they got, coronavirus hit, and so I made it into a website.
Oh, well, at least it's got a home, and then hopefully after the COVID, when we're able to congregate again, we'll be able to see you come out and see you perform again.
Yeah, I hope so. Also, my hope is that it'll end soon, and Deep Astronomy will be ready soon, and they can both kind of go out into the world together. The film and us.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see you open for your own film.
Yeah. Well, it was going to be a lecture, and I made this 20-minute video. That's something I'm really having fun with, doing multi-panel, 2-dimensional animation storytelling. But it's basically a little lecture on the Red Planet Planning Commission, and I'm using playing a lot with the kind of mouth movement that they have in like old Speed Racer and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all that. Just like 10 positions,
right?
Those to make my
it's not super well dubbed.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, it syncs up hopefully, but it's not. It's like those little position, animation. And so I'm using those as my my speakers these days.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. I can't wait to see that. Now, Cory, you also were doing a webcomic too called Rabbit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that I guess at the moment is just a giant failure.
Oh.
I thought it was going to take 6 months. 2 years later, halfway through the story, and I realized if I continue to spend the next 2 years just doing Rabbit, I will be done for. So I thought I'll come back to it when I'm in a good position. So far, it's been a couple of years, and I haven't been able to get back into it. But it was just really, like I became a perfectionist real fast, and it became super time and, I mean, I forget, like 100 or something pages out, a couple of 100 pages.
Yeah.
And then I just realized, I gotta set it aside, which it was really kind of heartbreaking. I'm hoping that people who helped support it enjoyed it, because I put it out episodically, and I also gave out rewards for the people who supported it that I thought were worth the rewards they were giving.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was I consider that to be one of my grand failures, until I can pick up that axe again and get back into it.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like putting it out as an anthology, like bringing other artists in to adapt your writing?
I had thought about that. I thought about that originally.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think I don't know what to do with it at the moment. And also there was it's really bleak. It gets super, super bleak. And there was a point where things were getting really bleak in my life. And I thought, well, I don't actually want to be putting this in the world at this moment, Okay. And that was when I was going to go back to it, So,
yeah. Okay. Well, maybe another day then.
Yeah. I mean, when I feel like putting something, like lifting that lid back up and jumping in, which I want to, I definitely do. I don't ever, because then that will be one less failure of mine. But
I think there's something to be learned from failures. I've had my shared experience of those, and projects kind of had to put to the side. But I always found personally, like the projects that really seem accessible and ready to breathe life, those tend to present themselves or kind of float to the top. Even while that stuff has to die or be put aside.
Yeah, well, it was either sit at home for another 2 years, hunched over doing these drawings, or go out and perform music and try to create a whole body of work.
Right.
And so it's when I say it that way, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult to just say, all right, I basically shot myself in the foot even starting this whole project. And, but again, I hope people enjoyed as far as it got.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I received some of those extra incentives. I think I received one of those painted cells from your early animations.
Yeah, I had tons of those.
So cool.
Yeah, actually, I feel kind of weird about this, but when I was moving my apartment from one side of the apartment to the other and the other one back. I was telling you about that earlier. I moved everything on a skateboard. I kept finding all this stuff, and I found there was 1,000 of those paintings left.
Mm-hmm.
And I had those, and I had all this, stuff from the American Astronaut and all this memorabilia stuff, just taking up massive amounts of room in my apartment. And I looked at it all, and I thought, am I an idiot? Why am I lugging this stuff around from home to home, all these years? So I decided, all right, the Cory McAbee's Museum of Cory McAbee is now closed. And I went outside with all of those paintings, and I had 1,000 of them, and the garbage truck was out there. I'm like, can I chuck these in there? And they're like, yeah. And I threw them in. I was like, it was like a ball and chain had been lifted off of me after 30 years.
Yeah, I understand that kind of, having to drown your babies a little bit.
Yeah, these babies hadn't breathed life for so many years. It was just wrong of me to keep it down. Huh?
It was a husk now.
Yeah, it was a husk. If people think I'm weird for keeping jars of fingernail clippings, this I think is weirder.
That's right. I forgot about that. I forgot that you collected that.
Well, you know why I started collecting fingernail clipping? When my daughter was a kid, when she was little, I was showing her pictures of this wonderful sculptor. He's still around. He's of our time.
Yeah.
His name's Tim Hawkinson. Do you know Tim Hawkinson's work?
No, I don't think I do.
Everything he did was vast. Everything he did was very different. And one of the things he did was he made a perfect baby bird skeleton out of his own fingernail clippings and crazy glue.
Wow.
It looks just like a baby bird skeleton standing there. And I showed my daughter, and she goes, will you save your fingernail clippings? And I was like, yeah, all right. Yeah. And she goes, we can make some. I'm like, sure, why not? And so I started doing it, and, the jar got going, and you get to a point where you're like, waste not, want not, into the jar.
Right.
And then a few years later, you got this big jar of fingernail clippings, and you're like, gross, ooh, neat, gross. But I actually do plan to use them as a, some kind of, for some kind of piece at some point.
Yeah, it kind of gives, now I'm starting to get visuals of maybe a Tool music video where you've got little stop motions of figurines made out of fingernails.
You could with your drawing style, you could make a picture just by gluing fingernail clippings to fill in those shapes. And
true
it'll take you years to get the fingernails together, but.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I'll need to enlist your help to make that happen, because I'll need all the fingernails I can get.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of gross.
That's okay. Gross is what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an Icelandic thing about clipping your nails, that the idea that the end of the world would come on a ship, and the sails would be made out of dead men's fingernails. So everybody kept their fingernails really short, so that if they died in battle, their fingernails would impede the completion of these sails.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, that's wow. That is a really cool myth there, or folklore. Wow.
Yeah, they got some good stuff. I love Iceland. What's really weird? You're in Colorado,
right?
And what is it? How long does it take to fly to Colorado from New York? What is that? About 4 hours?
Nah, not really. It's I think it's maybe 3.5.
That's how long it takes to fly from New York to Iceland.
No kidding. That's cool.
About, yeah.
Man, well, at least it's short travel.
It's short travel, and you get there and it's like tomorrow. It's so weird.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. You've done a lot of traveling, with the band and the music and film. What you seem like you're always ready for adventure and meeting new people and everything. Is there any like story that really stands out?
Oh, every place is just so wonderful. Yeah, I love going to Russia because it's so weird and neat. I mean, even the sky looks different there just because of the skyscape looks different. It's
Right.
I think that might be like the last place I went was St. Petersburg. Something that I didn't know when I went there last was I went to the what is it, the Hermitage Museum.
Oh, okay.
And second time I've been there, and both times I was just, they took me out the night before and destroyed me. And so I wake up the next time in the Hermitage going, oh, I'm not going to make it. And so yeah. But this guy gave us a tour. He worked there.
Mhm.
And he goes, I want to show you my favorite thing. Most people don't see this because usually, I mean, you're seeing Michelangelo paintings and, just the greatest stuff. And it's all hung differently. It's on like red walls and there's like lots of stuff hung at different angles. And I mean, not angles, but like, as to where in America, they would hang everything kind of like the center would be the eye line and everything would be lined up to that. This is all over the place and it looks amazing. And he took me down into the I call it the basement. And there was Siberian mummies. And I didn't know anything about Siberian mummies.
Right.
And what happened was, I think it was like 2,400 years ago, this couple died and they buried them in this like cabin underground with this gigantic carpet with a mosaics of this like guy with a mohawk on a horse riding up to this god with these giant horns sitting on this throne over and over and over again over this gigantic carpet. Usually something like that would rot over the past. But what happened was grave robbers went in and stole their gold and stuff. Oh, these guys have amazing tattoos too. Like look up the tattoos of these people. But anyway, grave robbers went in and the thing filled up with water and froze.
Oh, wow.
It froze for over 2,000 years. And so it discovered it, all of their textiles were intact.
Huh. That's cool. Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
That's that's one thing I think we can all look forward to is after the pandemic, seeing Cory McAbee back out in the world, sharing your art and your talent, and traveling to foreign places and meeting new people and making new friends. That's what it's all about.
Well, I gotta figure out a reason to get around. Like I'm not a casual traveler. Like I have a job. So
yeah, most definitely. No, that's why you're a filmmaker.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. I keep trying to reinvent, like, why am I making movies? And right now it's going out and making these science-ish things to help monarch butterflies and land restoration.
That's an absolute wonderful cause. And people can go to the Red Planet Planning Commission.com for more information. And then you also have a Patreon too. Can they find that at CoryMcAbee.net?
Yeah, it's patreon.com/smalleststar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So make sure everybody that's watching after this, not right now, go over there and go support Cory McAbee so he can make more amazing art that enriches and brings a lot of happiness to the world.
Well, thank you, sir, and also thanks for having me on your show. This is exciting. I've been looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, it's I love doing this show because it gets me to be able to re-engage with old friends and see what cool stuff they're up to. And during this time, we have to be pretty innovative to reach out to people.
Yeah, it's definitely we're reinventing.
Yeah, I think that's very true. These times of grave limitations, I think they have the opportunity to breathe innovation.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Cory, thanks so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to see you and to see you and the family doing amazing stuff. And I can't wait to see Deep Astronomy. Looks like got Elise says yay.
Hey, hi Elise.
That's my girlfriend. She. But again, thanks for being so generous with your time and coming on. Yeah, and I'm never ready for that. I'm so stuck. Here we go. Nice. Oh man, I've got no rhythm. Oh dear. But Cory, go ahead, stick around for a little bit after we sign off. But to everybody that tuned in, thanks so much. Hopefully you found this fun and informative. And everybody out there, be good, be kind to each other, help each other out. We love you.